All right, everyone, it's time for a little bit more election analysis, some odds, predictions, analysis of certain candidates, because there is no Democratic standard bearer yet. Tom Perez is too behind the scenes. I mean, he's not going to run for the presidency. He's too busy with his cushy job, sitting at a desk at the DNC and making $1 million a year to do absolutely nothing. Hillary Clinton can no longer run. She's lost twice. It's impossible. Bernie Sanders, I choose to believe, will not run because of the DNC's new rules, which would force him to abandon being an independent, which would hazard his legislative career here in Vermont. That's one of the reasons why he keeps getting reelected, because he's not seen as politically partisan insofar as having a party ideology, although he does caucus with the Democrats, so it's, then he votes with them 90% of the time. But I figured that I would analyze some of this, and it's a decent list. It's sort of a no-brainer list. But I'm going to go through the top 10 from the Post. This is posted, archive, of course, on like NewJersey.com. They were prefacing it on Cory Booker, and he's, of course, on the list. He's about midway down. I would say he is on the top 10. This is a decent list of who's likely to run. Bloomberg is left off of this, I believe. I don't know why, because he's considering a run at least. But I'm going to go through it. Number 1 is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders will never be a president of the United States. There are so many reasons why. I've already described them. He probably can't run as a Democrat now. He'd have to run as an independent, which would be doomed. In fact, it would wipe out the Democratic Party. It'd be hilarious. I hope that he does run as an independent. I hope he gets his balls up and he says, hey, the DNC no longer represents the left. It represents corporations. Well, if I wanted that, I'd vote for the Republicans. And then he mounts an independent campaign, drains the entire youth away from the Democrats, invigorates maybe third parties, and everything falls into chaos. The Democrats, by the way, would be well warned. You should hope that he does that so you can lose and then reform as a party. He's too old. His socialistic mentality would not, I think, win him an election. I think that he would fare better than a Clintonian. He might win back parts of the Rust Belt. Otherwise, I don't think that it would move the metrics as much. I think for every younger voter that you get, because of turnout differentials, you lose an older voter. And you hemorrhage support in parts of the South. So yeah, I don't think that would work. Number 2, Elizabeth Warren. Again, someone who is, you look at this list, it's also who's who of who's going to be in the nursing home in 10 years. I believe, isn't Warren 71 or 72? She's no spring chicken. Although she looks maybe better than Biden at his age or something. I don't think that she'll run. I believe she's already ruled it out, if I recall correctly. And she's got too much baggage. At this point, with Trump's attacks on her, they've been successful largely. It's a hyper-partisan climate. I don't think that she's the glue. What they need to find is a Democrat who can glue the progressives to the neoliberals. That's what they need to find, or a total dark horse reformer. By the way, Ocasio-Cortez, who just unseated Crowley, dark horse candidate possibility, could be the next sort of Obama-style Hail Mary that they throw up. It is possible. If she throws her hat into the ring, she could potentially be like Bernie Sanders. She would at least be a mainline candidate. I don't think would win. I think the neoliberals would still use massive amounts of billions of corporate dollars to crush her out of existence. But a socialist insurgent candidacy could rise up and at least into the double digits. Of course it could. You'd be draining all the urban and youth votes away from the neoliberals. Number 3, former Vice President Joe Biden. I guarantee you no. I can guarantee it because, again, old, tied with Obama, which brings its own problems because the Republicans would go into hyperdrive to attack him. They would definitely, if their turnout is already something I'd expect to be kind of high because of Trump excitement, it would be 10 times higher because of Joe Biden being their opponent. He's not as well-spoken as Obama. He's not as imposing as Obama. He had that gap already in his career, really. The problem is that the vice president typically has the first slot for that party to run. It's like Herbert Walker. Nobody would have taken him seriously if he hadn't been Reagan's VP. Let's put it that way. But he got the chance to run. It's sort of a ceremonial thing. Parties simply offer that possibility. They basically, many of them will throw their weight behind whoever happens to be the vice president while they're campaigning. They're like, hey, they've got a systemic advantage. They're already part of an incumbent administration. But Joe Biden had a lapse. He right now, he's not in a political situation. He didn't run in 2016. He'll be 76 years old. No, I just don't think it. And I don't think that he would win. If he did become somehow the nominee, he'd lose handily. Then you have Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is a lightning rod for criticism. It's never going to happen. It's like a Maxine Waters. She's further left. Again, no spring chicken like most Democrats. No, I don't think the party would support her. I think if she ran, she would get plowed under. She wouldn't even make it to the to the last stages of the primaries, really. She wouldn't win any states, in other words. That's my expectation. Booker would be a better guess. He seems more conciliatory, neoliberal kind of. He's setting himself up for that. He and Gillibrand are both doing the maneuvering, of course. I expect both of them probably to run. They'd be a fairly even match. I'd say Booker at this point might have a little bit of an advantage over a Gillibrand, even though they have some similarities because of Gillibrand's connection to the New York Attorney General who was beating his girlfriends. That would really hurt her in a campaign. When you're campaign, you know, the Democrats, they're going to have to mention women's rights, especially if it's Gillibrand, a female candidate. Gonna be kind of hard to do. You're gonna get some debate and reporter questions, even from the legacy media, that will tacitly support your campaign all the way through because you happen to have a D after your name. I don't think she can answer that question to the satisfaction of the American voters. And then number 7, Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, a name I've heard vaguely, but I'm someone who's pretty cued into politics. And I'm not sure that he would have enough name recognition to even make it into the primaries. I think he would end up like, what's his name there? The dude, I can't bear, O'Malley. The third wheel candidate, you know, from the last election that just sat there saying, oh, well, we want energy independence by 2050, solar panels for everyone. That's basically his platform. That's because that's the kind of candidacy you throw your hat into the ring to get some extra name recognition, inject an idea into the race, and then leave. That's what he did. He tried to inject environmentalism. Hillary wasn't having any of it. She's like, oh, drill, baby, drill, basically, Junior. Terry McAuliffe is number 8. I'd say maybe, but the problem is, again, you've got a Clinton connection. Terry McAuliffe is one step removed from a major scandal within the state of Virginia involving campaign finance. I don't think that would work well for him. Trump would chew him up and spit him out on that issue. But yeah, he definitely, he might mount a campaign, but I think he's too busy being down there, being the former governor and sort of being activistic in nature. He's more likely to re-enter like gubernatorial politics, I think, than he would be to run. If he does, he'd probably be almost a mainline candidate. He'd be like a third wheel candidate. You'd have the neoliberal and the progressive candidates, the main ones, and then you'd have McAuliffe and maybe some other random, maybe a Gillibrand, rounding out that second tier. That's my expectation. Deval Patrick, maybe. I just don't think so. I think hasn't he been out of politics for a while? I think I would have put Bloomberg at number 9. And I would put, I'd say Mark Cuban would be on the list. It's just I don't think he runs. The problem with Bloomberg and Cuban is that they're both billionaires. They're massively wealthy. I don't think that would go over so well with the progressive voters. They'd be like, hey, so it's one rich guy versus another rich guy. What the fuck? What the fuck, Democratic Party? They're chomping at the bit. They want like a lesbian candidate or something that came out of poverty and you know, like immigrated or something. That's what they want. You know, I know they wouldn't be eligible to run, but they might run them anyway. Change the law retroactively. And then Sherrod Brown is on there again. I've heard the name. I'm aware of this person. Is the average voter aware of who Sherrod Brown is? No. Because essentially, you have to have some sort of attention paid to a candidate. This doomed Rand Paul, by the way. Rand Paul simply was ignored by the media and never got traction, and then Trump comes along and supplants him. He was riding high at like 12, 13% in a field that had 14 people in it. He wasn't doing that badly. He was on that second tier. He just totally collapses. His supporters all fled to Trump because Trump got more attention. Trump sucked all the oxygen out of the room for him and for Ben Carson, thereby growing his own massive coalition involving leaning libertarian Republicans and marginally evangelical Republicans, along with Trump populism. So this is an okay list. It's just looking at it, when I look at this list, do I think any of these people could reasonably be expected to defeat Donald Trump? The answer is no, because the only person on here, I think, Bernie Sanders, number 1, who would stand a fighting chance because of his youth appeal, oddly enough since he's ancient, will not run. He will not be the Democratic nominee. He can't be. Are people putting their heads in their sand? If you're a Democrat, can I ask you this? Did you not know that the DNC has changed the rules of who can run in their primaries? to eliminate the possibility of an independent candidate switching party affiliation 2 days beforehand and before the primaries and saying, hey, yeah, I'm running, and then stealing the party, essentially. They're trying to prevent reform. By the way, huge mistake to do that. They're doing what the Republicans did to Ron Paul. Not a good idea. It's gonna cause a shift within your party, and the neoliberals are gonna be the ones getting bitten in the ass. Now, I'm telling you that, but looking at this list, the candidates that I think are more likely to run that would have serious candidacies, that is, they wouldn't get completely stomped into non-existence, Gillibrand and Booker, from this list anyway. Bloomberg would stand a chance because I think that he can self-fund, number one, like a Trump. He could play up to the left. The problem is, I think that a lot of the flyover state Democrats, Rust Belt Democrats, I think they would abandon the party at that point. They'd say, we're not having it. Bloomberg's just a gun control advocate, big cityite. He's an elitist. He's basically Trump with a D minus guns. Well, they're going to prefer Trump because he's got a track record of doing well in the economy. I don't think that he could win. It would be a serious candidacy, though. And as for some of these other throw-out names, like they're like, what's his name there? I can't even remember it. Some people want Michelle Obama to run. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. Michelle Obama has already said, no more politics for the Obamas. Trust me, we're tired of it already, and I don't blame them. After the way the Democrats tried to throw the Obamas under the bus, by the way, all the Democrats that sided with the Clintonians over the Obama family, their careers are over because the Obamas are way, way more popular. I like the Obamas more than I like Hillary Clinton. I spent 4 years doing nothing but ragging on him on everything other than Cuba and the oil boom. It's still better than the Clintons. It's not saying much, but yeah, the Obamas, they're more sane than the Clintons. Less warmongering, a little bit less corrupt. Probably because they don't have a dynastic political presence. They haven't been in power as long. Now they got to decorrupt themselves. They should go to Hawaii and just retire. Obama should be like, hey, I've got pineapples and millions of dollars. I don't fucking care about these political issues. He should shitpost on Twitter. He should become a troll. Then he would actually it'd be pretty great, actually. Obama could troll. But no, looking at this list, like anytime I see a list with Kamala Harris anywhere in the top 10, I'm like, that sort of screws the pooch for your predictive capabilities here. You're just basically, some of these people are far left. You got an independent, you got centrists, you've got people who haven't been in politics for 10, 15 years. Kind of a sporadic, sort of a shotgun pattern list now, isn't it? You're not really fixated. You've got to keep in mind the neoliberals are still the masters of the Democratic Party right now. The candidate will almost certainly be at least mostly a neoliberal. Unless, again, you've got a dark horse candidate. Keep an eye on Ocasio-Cortez. Keep an eye on what Bloomberg does. Keep an eye. Joe Biden might run, but it'd be a laughingstock. He'll come in fourth like he did before. Oh, it'd be so funny. Because basically, I didn't even expect Obama to choose him as the VP. Honestly, I expected him to adopt Hillary Clinton as his vice presidential nominee. It might have lost him the race, even against a John McCain. But I expected him to do that as sort of a, I'll kiss your ring if you'll, kiss my bigger ring, basically. And then you can run the next time around because you've been a VP. That's what I expected. That's about all. Peace out.